Two, we're trying this again. And we are here with live readings on the node. So today we're doing live readings on the North and South node, the sign change they will make into Virgo and Pisces, and the readings will be on what this means for you. So let me just check our sound, which is why we had these whole issues in the first place. But let me make sure our live is going, the sound is working. Yes, we are good. Thank you all, everyone who just hung in there with me for this. We're good to go. And now we're doing live readings on the nodes. And I'm going to explain how this works. If you already know how this works, I'm going to be putting a link in the chat. So that you can book if you would like. So let me just grab that. And then I'll explain kind of what we're doing for anyone who might be newer. Cora's here. Hello. All right. So the link to book is now in the chat. It will be pinned to the top. And yes, so I do live readings on this channel sometimes, which is a chance for you to book a reading with me. A little mini reading when you maybe don't need a full one at the moment, or just because it's New Year's Day and you want to start the year off with some, info about astrology. I hope everyone's having a good start to 2025. I know I am. And what else? So if you want to book this one, I made this one special. So for anyone who has done my lives before, this is a new topic we have not done yet, but I know everyone kind of gets curious about the nodes, what the nodes are going to do. This is something people ask me a lot when they do readings with me. Yes, thank you, Cora. Happy New Year to you too. And so that's what we're going to do. So here is how it works. Number one, if you are just joining the live, the first thing I want you to do is make sure the live that you're watching is you're on the most current time. Sometimes when you join the live, it'll start you off at the beginning or an earlier place in the video. And so especially if you're planning on booking one today, that is the first thing you need to do is make sure you're at the current moment. So do that now. Also with lives, they are faster paced. So if you are someone who doesn't like to be rushed, or you hate technology, or or you just don't like to be rushed, then I would consider booking a one-on-one with me because the lives are fast paced. That's what they're designed to do. They're supposed to be entertaining. I can't be sitting here if it takes you 5 minutes to like connect and like get centered and like get on the right moment. I can't be waiting for that on these. So just so you know, that is what to expect. And if you're just jumping on, say hello. Let me know you're here. And like I said, what we're doing today is live readings on the nodes. So we're going to cover, here's what we're going to cover. It's going to be what shift will happen in your life from the North Node changing signs. That is going from, right now the nodes are in Libra and Aries. They're moving into Pisces and Virgo. So what does that mean for you? So I'll touch on what the nodes were doing to you and what they're going to stop doing. And then what they are going to be doing, what the North Node will usher in for you, and what the South Node will release for you or could change for you. And then I'm also going to cover, if you have planets in Pisces or Virgo, I'm going to cover when the nodes will hit those planets, if you have any, and what that might look like. What kind of energies will change. What things in your life are likely to expand, get bigger, change, grow, be focused on, and what things in your life might be released, let go of, or change their form or change the shape they take. So there could be all kinds of different ways the nodes can affect you. And that is a fact. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so let me see here. Yeah, so the way that these readings work is that they are first come, first serve. And if you book now, your reading will be first, and so on until we are done. And if you book today, I do the reading today. So I only make it so you could like I won't stop. I won't stop before your reading gets done. I'll keep going until we get through them all. And this should be fun because it's January 1st now. So January 11th is when the North Node and South Node are going to move into Pisces and Virgo. And that is what we're going to talk about. So we'll talk about what that shift will look like for you. And we'll talk about what that's going to be during the whole time that the nodes are in Pisces and Virgo. And so the nodes stay in a sign about a year and a half. So I'm just looking now at how long they're going to be in Virgo and Pisces. Yeah, until about July. No, hold on. 1 week. Let me see. I'm going to tell you the exact. Yeah, it'll be the end of July 2026 when the nodes move into, then it'll be Leo and Aquarius. So about July 26, 2026 from January 11th, 2025. So we have a year and a half of these energies that we'll be dealing with. So it's good to know because these bigger cycles of life can help us kind of know what to lean into and what to expect, right? Sometimes what your North Node enters is something you get into more deeply. It's not always something you want to get into more deeply. Sometimes it is, but then the South Node is usually something you let go of, something you end up releasing, something you end up kind of purging, letting go of, releasing, bringing more of a spiritual quality to. So it really tells us a lot about the phases and cycles of our lives. Okay, so that is what we're doing. There is a link in the chat to book. So if you want to book it, you can using the link. And I'm going to hang out and drink some coffee while more people are jumping on. How is 2025 treating everybody? How is everyone feeling? We had the new moon in Capricorn like 2 days ago, right at the end of the year. So that's interesting. So, I know I always feel kind of like that quiet space between things when there's a new moon. Bluebird says, so far so good. So far so good with the new year. I will go on a little rant here on astrology and the new year and what the new year is good for and what it is not. Bluebird says, I feel like I'm in a waiting room. Interesting. Okay, interesting. Like that pause between things where you know it's not like time to act yet. Just waiting to get your number called. I relate to that. Okay, so my little rant on the new year is that the way society sort of pushes us to have a New Year's resolution on January 1st, it's just so not in alignment with what the energy does in Capricorn season. Capricorn season is darkness, right? It's dark and it's cold and it's dry and it's cranky old Saturn ruled. And it's all about sacrifice and like, you know, how winter can be a little bit of a downer sometimes. I'm not saying you have to be depressed all winter, although I was growing up because I'm from Washington. But okay, yeah, Bluebird says I'm learning about the nodes and the birth chart, North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra. Cool, cool. Okay, so yeah, so Capricorn season just isn't really the best time to kind of like take a flying leap toward a goal, which I think is part of the reason so many people set New Year's resolutions and don't make it like 2 weeks. But it is in alignment as far as thinking about your goals and what you've achieved and being aware of what you haven't achieved and being aware of what you need to do to achieve what you want to achieve. Capricorn season is a great time to like look at the last year and what you've done, you know, and like look at so is your birthday, right? With the astrology as well, because it's literally a new cycle. But Capricorn season doesn't have that energy of it's a new cycle. So it just has the energy of I'm aware of what I haven't accomplished, which is a very Capricorn kind of thing to be aware of. And it's an important part of life is our accomplishments, right? So um yeah, so I think that we can use the new year energy to be aware of our goals and think about what we've reached and what we haven't reached and maybe what approach we could take differently without the extra pressure of feeling like we have to stop everything and change our whole life tomorrow because Aries season usually is a better time for that launching energy. It's spring. It's like although it kind of depends on everything, but even with Jupiter going direct in February, I think for a lot of people, that's going to be a better time to expect the things you've been working on for the past year to pay off, move forward, give you some benefit. So that is my rant on that. So, hello to everybody else jumping on here. Today we're doing live readings, and today I wanted to do a special live reading you can book using the link in the chat. And this is to see how the nodes will affect you. This is going to be 2025 because the nodes change signs on the 11th of January. And it's also going to be a little bit of 2026 because they don't change signs again until July of 2026. So, what energy are you going to be in the next year and a half? And how is it going to be more personal to you? So, to make it more personal, I'm going to look at what the nodes in the signs mean. Yeah, what the nodes mean when it comes to planets. So if you have planets in Virgo or Pisces, I'm going to be able to tell you what the nodes are going to do to those planets and when. Sometimes it's not what you think. It's usually not what you think. That's the thing is that when I first started learning the nodes like the modern way, I would just think everything the nodes touch would be fated and life changing. And it's not, that's not how I read the nodes in transit. They really just expand or release related to the planet that they're touching. But that, even that is going to be personal to you based on your chart. Even that is going to be something that is different for everyone. Even if it's Mars hitting the South Node, that's going to be different for every rising sign because Mars rules something different in your chart. So that is what we'll be doing. And I'm going to just hang out for a minute while people jump on and somebody will book. And drink some coffee. Because I stayed up last night and I'm old. And I remember when I was a teenager, I just like for no reason staying up all night on New Year's Eve. For no reason. I just had nothing better to do, you know? And now I can't imagine how bad I would feel if I did that. It really is crazy getting older. Okay. So I'm going to tell you guys what we're doing once again because I noticed a few more people are here now. Hello to everyone. Happy New Year. Happy new moon in Capricorn a couple of days ago. Happy Mercury's not retrograde anymore. We still have Mars retrograde, but that's okay. It's a few months. Um, just happy everything. So yeah, we have good stuff in the sky. We have something exciting changing, and that's the North and South Node. They change signs every year and a half. So today you can book a live reading with me that's going to go over what that means for you, what you can expect the nodes to do to you, your life, or what they're going to influence in your life starting January 11th, 2025. This is one of the questions I get asked a lot in readings is what are the nodes going to do when they hit this, when they hit my sun, or they hit my moon, or they hit this, or they hit that? And so it's good to go into those situations um, just having an idea of what might increase or what might decrease. Yeah. So that is what we're doing. If you have questions, let me know. And I'm going to check the link and make sure it is working all right. Oh, another thing is I'm going to show you guys how to do this. Sometimes I do this. I'm going to demonstrate how to book this. Okay, so when you go here, you will see this, and you might see it on your phone. It might look a little different, but you'll see this link. Click the link. That will take you to this page. One of the things you'll notice is it says 4 p.m. This is later than it is now because if I put it at what time it is now, then the next minute it's going to disappear because my scheduler thinks it's after. Like it's after, it's past. Don't let them book it. So I do it ahead of time. I do it for the time I think I'm going to end so that everyone can get booked. And then, yeah, it tells you what it is, blah, blah, blah. And then you click book. It's going to take you to this page. And you put in your first and last name, your email, and then your birth information. And then you have to say, I understand astrology readings are for entertainment purposes only, and there are no refunds. And then you click yes, and then you hit continue to payment. There will be another page you have to fill out where you make your payment and you do the booking. So that is how you book the reading. If you have questions, let me know in the chat. XRP, hello. And yeah, welcome to everyone else jumping on. I thought it'd be fun for New Year's Day to do some readings on the nodes because who doesn't love the nodes? I'm pretty sure every single person here on this channel loves the nodes. I love the nodes. And they're so interesting. You know, they're so alluring. They really just, I feel like I could study the North and South Node for the rest of my life and still not know enough. You know, they're just, it's like we just innately know they contain information for us. Oh, by the way, I have a little mini course on the nodes I just put out. I should give you guys the link for that as well. Let me find that. I'm going to grab that now. There is a special if you get it by midnight. So if you want to get it, it's like an introductory deep dive into the nodes. And if you want to get it, you can get the special if you book it by midnight tonight. So that is also going into the chat. Let me see. I'm going to try to put that in the description as well. Oh, let's see if it lets me. Yeah. We're going to do that. Oh, I need to add a thumbnail because it got weird on me earlier. I had audio issues, but that's okay. We're here. There we go. That's better. Okay, so that's all set. And yeah, so the bookings are open. Whoever books first will be first, and we will go from there. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna have some more coffee while we wait for whoever is going to be first today. I actually love, even though it's winter and it's all cold and everything, I do really love this time of year in Vegas because it is so sunny and like nice. Okay, so cult member, these are actually readings you need to book using the link at the top of my of the chat. So that question, if you want like a free resource on the nodes changing signs, I have a whole video on it. I have a whole video I did on the nodes changing signs for all signs of the zodiac. Thank you, Cora, so much. So yeah, cult member, if you want to book, you can. And if not, that's fine too. So thank you, Cora, for that comment. Oh, yes. So I was just about to ramble about how much I like the sunshine here. It's actually, I look forward to the like September, October, especially here. But even through like January, February, it's like the best. It's the best because you have like the sunshine in the middle of the day. And so it's, even if it's cold, it's like you can get out in the warm heat midday and it's like high 60s. So that's like really nice. And then, yeah, it's my favorite. It's my favorite. If I could live here like through February and live somewhere else the rest of the year, that'd be cool. That'd be the best. All right. So I do think a few more people jumped on. So let me tell you guys once again what we're doing today. We are doing a special live where you can book with me and get your reading, your chart read live to find out how the nodes are going to affect you in 2025. So this is going to be a reading where I look at your chart. I look at the transiting nodes. So not your nodes in your natal chart. A lot of you already know about that stuff or you're learning it. You can Google that. Or you can take my little mini course on it if you want my specific insight. But this is actually what the nodes are going to do to you. So with the transiting nodes, in your chart, how they're going to affect you, how they're going to affect your life in the next year, year and a half, because the nodes take about, 18 months to go through a sign. And so on January 11th, the nodes will enter Pisces and Virgo. So it's going to affect you more if you have personal planets in Pisces or personal planets in Virgo. But if you have any planets in Pisces and Virgo, the reading will also address what time frame those planets will be the strongest effect. The nodes will have the strongest effect on them, and it will also tell you kind of what to expect, what kind of things might expand, what kind of things might contract, what kind of things might be of greater focus, and what kind of things you might feel like letting go of at some point during that time. Okay, so we are going to hang out until someone books. And They are first come, first serve. At this point, the line is open, so whoever books first will be first, and we will go from there. Okay, so this is a transiting chart, but if you book today, this could be your chart. So, um, so here we are with it. Yeah, so here's the 12. Then remember the nodes, they go backwards through the sign. So as of the 12th of January 2025, that south node is in Virgo and the north node is in Pisces. So anyone with planets in Pisces or planets in Virgo will have a conjunction from one of the nodes at some point during the next year and a half of their life. So, that is what we're doing. If you have questions, let me know in the chat. If you're thinking about booking and you are not sure, go ahead and let me know if you have a question about it. Sorry I stayed up late. I actually scheduled this live for 2 because I knew it would be New Year's Day. And even though I don't drink, I know some other people do. Some of you guys do. And so I know a lot of people are like, I don't know, I feel like I'm getting a little too old for that. But I know still, even regardless of age, a lot of people like to ring in the new year. What did you guys do? Did anyone do anything special to celebrate? I'm not much of a party goer, so I did not do anything super exciting. And I know there's probably a range of people on this channel who, some of you guys are going to be like, no, I didn't do anything. And some of you are going to be like, I'm deconditioning from holidays, right? Some of you are in that spiritual phase where it's like holidays are just another day. And then others of you probably have a rich social life, unlike me. But if you're a spiritual person and you're out here in hermit mode and you're like, I just can't do the crowds because I pick up on the energies, you're in the right place because that is how I feel. I also, though, I do feel like we have to try. We have to try to be connected to the world because I think the world needs us to be there. I think that the world is kind of a tough place to be in at the moment. And the more of us who are there, who have peace, who have cultivated some peace, who have meditated, who try to bring love and light, who care about other people, who have compassion and fairness and all the positive qualities that being a spiritual seeker leads you to, all of the things that introspection can enrich your life and soul with. The world needs those qualities, even though sometimes it's hard. But that's another ramble. But for anyone else jumping on, we are still doing live readings. These are readings on the notes. So it's going to go over what the North and South Node mean for you. The transiting North and South Node are going to do to you energetically, what themes they're going to bring, what's going to be focused on or added, and what is going to possibly be released. And man, I can tell you, sometimes when you hear astrologers talk about that, that sounds too simple. And it sounds so like, okay, adding and releasing. Wow, that's really deep. But man, if you know how to put it together the right way, it is really deep and it is really accurate. So that is what I try for. I try for readings that are going to, yeah, yes, help you be your best version of you. Yes, help you work through the challenges without being bound to the worst part of your chart. Yes, help you become your best self. But also, sometimes what makes astrology so amazing is it just hits you how, like, bam, accurate it can be. How, bam, like, true to life it can be when it is read the right way. All right. So, for anyone who wants to book, there is a link at the top of the chat. And I'm going to make sure it is working. And yeah, it is working. So we are good. And I'm going to hang out for a little bit longer to see if we have any takers. Sometimes it just takes that one person booking the reading to kind of make everyone else want to do it too. And, oh, did we get someone? We got someone. Okay, so cult member went for it. Let me see here. Let me see here. You are first, and anyone else who books next will be next. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off so I can add your info here. And then we will get going. Yay, this will be fun. Okay, so let me just add your chart in. Oops. Okay. Cult member, I'm almost ready here. Anyone else who wants to book, you'll be next if you book now. You'll only have one person in front of you. Let me make sure I got that right. Okay. Here we go. We have your chart and you're ready. I can tell you are ready. All right, so let me set our timer. And here we go. We're going to look at, this is your chart and whole sign if you haven't seen it that way before. And so we're going to see the South Node here right now in Libra moving over into Virgo. So South Node going through your third house, entering your second house. What does that mean? Well, maybe the last year and a half, that south node in the third, what can it do? It can actually bring a focus on releasing things related to the third house, which is writing. Maybe during the if you were writing before during the last 18 months, you could have taken a hiatus from writing or teaching. If those topics don't make sense to you, releasing a vehicle, releasing a car, letting go of a certain method of transportation, or having less contact with a sibling might be a possibility here, although those are just possibilities. The North Node going through your ninth house probably has brought you more mentors, teachers, things to learn, things to believe, things to focus on relating to that greater topic of like God and the quest in life of meaning. So that's a nice one to be, it's just a nice one, really. But now we're going to see a shift here where the South Node going into that second house and the North Node going into the eighth house. The best example that I'll give you some positive possibilities here and then some challenging possibilities just so you have all of them. But with the South Node in the second, one of the challenging possibilities is the less money. Okay. So it can be you make less money. You have a moment during this year and a half where you take a break from making money. That's going to be more. I mean, I would hope that, maybe you have savings and you're like, oh, I can't do this job anymore. I need a long hiatus or something. You could let go of or release a certain way of making money. You could let go of certain possessions during this time. And it doesn't have to be you lost everything in your storage unit. It could be like you realize you don't need these things anymore. You realize you don't need this bed or this car or this couch or this whatever you have. And that you like it's causing you have to focus on it. It takes too much energy. Now, that's especially going to be true, I would say, if you are going into this transit with a way of making money that you feel like isn't working for you. Might be a time during the next, again, this is 18 months, where you feel like, okay, this way of making money isn't working. I need to let it go. And that can be a good thing if the way of making money is like draining you too much or something like that. North Node in the eighth, worst case scenario is you get into some debt. You add debt. Best scenario, you're focusing on paying off debt. You're focusing on maybe you have less money because you have debt you want to pay off or you have investments you want to make. And those finances are going to your other people's money, not yours, but in a good way. Okay, so that would be an example. Cult member, feel free to comment if any of this really resonates with what you expect to see happening in your life. Now, another thing about this transit is that we don't have any planets in the eighth and we don't have any planets in the second. So the last time you had a node hitting a planet was back in, let me see, back in around maybe April, June, May, closer to June, like end of June 2024, mid June, the South Node was conjunct Jupiter, and Jupiter rules your fifth house of pleasure. So you could have let go of a certain way. You could have let go of someone you were dating. You could have let go of a certain way of getting pleasure. What is that? It could be anything. Anything you enjoy, you had to stop doing. Maybe because it like ran its natural course. But you don't have another big nodes hitting anything until the North Node gets into Aquarius, where it will aspect Venus and Leo. That's not for, I'll tell you when this happens, not until 2027. And even then, that might be something positive. Even though you might think this Saturn, just because Saturn's here, you might think this is a challenging aspect. But the thing is, Saturn, Venus are conjunct Vega. Or no, this isn't Vega. Never mind. Forget I said that. Saturn is in its own sign. And The North Node hitting this might actually, Saturn Venus is like contractual contracts. Okay. Saturn Venus in the seventh house is like writing contracts for a living or something. Um, Cult member. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Just listening. Great. Yeah, so the good thing about that is that you don't really have any. I wouldn't say you don't have anything coming up or anything like that, but it's not like the nodes are going to go in that second eighth house and fuck a bunch of shit up. Usually it's when they are, I don't want to say that they're going to be easy, but like usually you're going to see a big planet here to do something really crazy. Or we would need to see some other confirmations of like something challenging here. And I will say, I will tell you, just so you have a little more info on this, it's more personal to you. I'll tell you what date I would watch for with these nodes going into the sign is I'm gonna be watching for when the south node and north node square Mercury. Why? Because Mercury rules the second house and the south node will be in the second house. So it's like this might be a time to just watch your money. Watch your money. Make sure you're not like giving it to someone else who shouldn't have it and then they spend it all. Or there might be something that feels a little bit on the fated or like destined side of things. And that would be happening around the 15th of December 2025. So I want to go a step further. Now, this may or may not help, sometimes depending on how old you were. But I want to go back to the last time. The last time this was happening, let me see if I can find it because I overshot a little bit here. In terms of, and you are probably super young, so just take whatever you can that resonates and don't try to force this if it doesn't work. Sometimes we have to be a little bit older before we see how it's going to manifest. But what I'm giving you is I'm giving you the last time the north and south node were in this same spot that I'm kind of giving you a heads up about with the Mercury and the money stuff. And that was May of 2007. So just think if that made sense to you as far as topics of your own financial independence, your own financial independence versus dependence on other people, your own ability to make your own money or have your own business or something like that. And again, if you were too young for those things to kind of apply back then, because I think you would have been, I don't know how old you would have been. Not very old. Not like a super old adult yet. Anyway, the point here is sometimes you can still see the themes. And with Mercury and Sagittarius, we might wonder, I have Mercury and Sag too, but we might wonder when things are being aspected by transit, because this was an important time of independence and responsibility. And it might have been fair or it might have been unfair, right? With Saturn hitting the ascendant back then. Feel free to let me know if that makes sense. But with Jupiter here too, like what was happening related to truth, your personal truth versus the actual truth, your independence versus dependence, and something along those lines. Now, I'm not predicting that, you go through this transit and then you suddenly have to live with your parents or something. But there might be themes of your own independence. You might release your independence and gain dependence on others in a positive way during this time. But it could also be in a way that doesn't feel positive. It could be like you have to borrow money from someone and you don't really want to. So, LOL to what? What did I say? I don't know what I said. Hopefully I'm not scaring the crap out of you. I'm trying not to scare the crap out of people, okay? Yeah, okay. So back to now. Let's go back to just mid-January. With the South Node entering the second house, it really could be you trying to purge your stuff and be like, I got to get rid of stuff. Let me get my possessions and the things that I own. Let me make sure you might Marie Kondo it and be like, does this bring me joy? Does this, especially with your second ruler in the fifth house, do you have your own business? If yes, I think that might be more affected here. Why? Because you have the planet related to money in the sign of own business. You know, the fifth house rules your own business. And you have the North Node here being like more, more, more. I want more money. I want more money so I can have more fun, so I can do more things, so I can experience life more. This is not a bad thing. This is not a bad thing at all. I want more freedom. Jupiter and Sagittarius in a sextile is very nice. But again, if I had to predict any kind of challenges with Jupiter and Mercury hanging out together in a chart, is your own personal truth versus the actual facts, and those things having challenges. Okay, yeah. All right. So you're saying you'll have to re-listen a couple times, but helpfully to get pointing out areas to reflect on. Yeah, especially with like looking to the past. I would say, especially since you were younger, don't like overemphasize that or anything. But just sometimes we can see when we look to the past like that, sometimes it helps us to not freak out. Cause I always freak out. I'm like, I have a horrible transit in 2 months. What the fuck's gonna happen? So I don't want you guys to do that. I do that enough myself. Thank you. Um, okay, but also I'm noticing you're having a Mars return, Mars retrograding over your natal Mars in the 12th house, where Mars is ruling your fourth house. And so, yeah, that's going to be probably going over the kind of stuff you would reflect on in a therapy session. Why? Because Mars in the 12th is like, you're not going to feel like you know what you're passionate about unless you take time and think about it. And also, it's a very spiritual placement when your ninth house ruler is in the 12th house, because it's like your path to God, your path to spirituality is private, it's personal, it's not something everyone needs to know about. And Uranus is aspecting that Mars. So if you are feeling it all, I'm going to stop after this. Now, this may not be what's happening. Just take what resonates here. Worst case scenario with Uranus making aspect to Mars in the 12th is you're getting some sudden repressed anger comes up. Okay. Worst case scenario, you realize you should have been pissed 20 years ago about something that happened. You know what I mean? You realize it wasn't fair. It was unjust. And when Mars is in the 12th, sometimes you have times in life where when you need that ability to fight, it's harder to access. Okay? It's harder to access the part that needs to say no sometimes. And with Pluto in the fourth, I would not be surprised if this was something from like a long, long time ago. Now, if that's not the case, then totally ignore that. It could also be positive. So this is spiritual awakening type shit. Why? Because Mars rules your ninth house and Uranus makes a positive aspect to it. So, hello, spiritual awakening. If you haven't had one already, it might be on the way. Although keep in mind that even that takes different forms for different people. So I'm going to stop there. And okay, we said we got 100. I don't know what the 100 was from, but great. That is great. And again, I will stop there just because of time. So I'm going to move the chart now back to the transits. So it's just going to show the moment. And thank you so much, cult member, for not only booking today, but being the first one to book today. Sometimes that is all it takes to get that energy moving. So thank you for that. And for everyone who has ever booked one of these lives or purchased any of my courses, it really does help me to be able to bring you guys content when you are supporting the channel. So thank you. Now, for anyone else who wants to go, we have readings open. The bookings are open. They are first come, first serve. Whoever books next will be next. And that is what we're doing. We are doing readings on how the nodes, changing signs, is going to affect your chart. Awesome. You're so welcome. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at where the North and South node are leaving in your chart. So what that shift is going to bring, what sign and house particularly in your chart they're entering, and what shift that is going to bring. And it's also going to tell you if you have planets in Virgo or Pisces, what times those aspects are going to be the strongest and what kinds of things you might see happening then. And I may also even go back in time and tell you when the last time the nodes were in that spot, just so you have something to compare it to, what your baseline has been for that. And yes, that is what we are doing. So yeah, the bookings are open, so whoever books next will be next, and there's a link at the top of the chat. All right, so we are going to just chill for a minute and see if anyone else books another one. But that really is how you can see, you can see any transit is looking at what happened the last time. Because now there's some transits though that we don't get that. We don't get what happened the last time with Uranus transits because unless you live to be like 80 and then, Uranus hit something when you were very, very young, then we could see what happened. But for most of us, those are once in a lifetime deals. But for a lot of the other cycles, even the Saturn cycle, we could still look back and see what happened the last time that thing happened. And sometimes that really helps because I don't know about you guys, but I still get scared when I see negative transits coming because I'm like, shit. Like it's life is already hard enough, man. I don't need another fucking Saturn transit. Tell me if you relate to that. Tell me if you feel like that too sometimes. Like or you see a lot of people who book with me, they will see the nodes gonna hit something. Like the nodes are gonna pass the planet, and that's one of the questions I get asked a lot. That's why I made this today because it's something people really do want to know often. And you know, for me, I'm not as like terrified at this point because I've been through some transits I thought were gonna destroy me and they were fine. Okay, and I'll tell you guys a story of the last one that was. And it's almost funny how not bad it was. It's almost funny. The next one I don't think I'm gonna have that luxury, but the last Saturn moon transit hit me probably in like March or April or something of this last year, and I was working at a different job then. And I thought my mom was gonna die, Saturn hitting my moon, my poor little moon, or like another woman in my life who was really important would die or something bad would happen. And what happened? Okay, so well let's zoom out for a minute and talk about the signification of Saturn moon. One of the like sweeping general significations is lack of support. Whatever your normal support is not there. And you know what happened during Saturn moon? My manager was gone. My manager was on vacation and she did a lot. So her being gone was a big change where I literally had less support in my position at work and I had to work more and I mean it because of the way they paid me and it was fine. I didn't make any extra money, so it was just more work, more sacrifice for a couple weeks. Um that's what I was so fucking afraid of, you guys. Like that. Like, if someone just came down from the heaven and was like, "Oh, your manager is going to be gone," I'd be like, "Fine, I can handle it." But when it's a planet hitting another planet and I don't know what it's going to be, it's terrifying. Do you guys relate? Uh, okay, so X XRP, do you have an opinion on the coming snake year? I love the Chinese zodiac. I don't study it or use it, so I can't speak on that. But I love all the Eastern different things, you know. I have respect for them. I think you know, they're ancient. It's ancient wisdom. But no, I don't for that reason. But thank you for asking. And then Cora says, yes, Saturn transits terrify me, especially because my chart is ruled by Saturn, right? Yeah, so you know, like Saturn's gonna not be, it's not just hiding over there. You know, some people do have stronger charts with more Saturn. Mine has a pretty strong Saturn influence. And it's like I've seen times in the past where Saturn fucked me up bad, you know? So Saturn is like the Grim Reaper for a reason, you know? It's not I don't really want to instill fear in people, but I think a healthy respect and reverence for the forces we don't have control over in life is, in my opinion, an essential part of being a good human, but having a spiritual philosophy in life. And I think that is, I mean, I could go on and on about how I think the new age is missing this. You know, the new age is taking the just think positive aspects of manifestation and not having the healthy reverence for the limits of what it means, because I think part of what it means to be human is we're creating our reality and we're influencing it, but part of life is also knowing when not to influence reality, knowing when to let someone, for example, deal with the consequences of their own actions because you realize it would be hurting them to not do that, or um you know, knowing when to let me think, knowing when to just not interfere, and knowing when to just like accept that part of life is that there are these forces we don't get to control. You know, I really, I think the spiritual community is getting a little much. It's a little much out there. Let me know in a comment how you feel about that, because I've met a lot of spiritual people I would rather not have anything to do with, because I can't talk about anything challenging without kind of it being sort of blamed on me. And that I don't love. As much as I believe that, yeah, we should be responsible for our own selves and the energy we bring to a situation. I just spent so much time around people who tried to like ram that down my throat in different ways that I'm over it. And I think that you can take personal responsibility for your life without shoving it up somebody else's ass. That you can quote me on that. All right, you guys, is anyone else going to book today? I would love to do some more readings. So, for anyone jumping on who's just joining us, what we're doing today is you can book a reading with me here live in real time on what the nodes are going to do to you. So, the nodes are about to change signs, they're going into Virgo and Pisces. And that is going to affect everyone differently based on the house that it's going into in their chart and based on what planets they have in Pisces or Virgo. And so that is what we are doing. You can use the link in the top of the chat to book, and I hope you do because it's fun. It's a fun, and what a fun way to start the new year with an astrology reading on the two like most faded, deep, you know, insightful points in the chart. Okay, so cult member says, I think it's true everyone has karmic lessons to learn, and if you try to help them, it may hurt you. Interesting. You know, yeah, and I mean, reflecting on this as sort of like a recovering person who used to want to help everyone, you know, when I was maybe the first few years of being spiritual, it's like I remember getting a reading from a lady and she was like, "You're coaching all your friends." And I remember that because I was like, "Yeah, I am. I was coaching all my friends." And some of them were coaching me too. And it's like, as much as I can look back at that time fondly as like a stage of growth that I was in, I don't want to be coaching all my friends anymore. Like that's not, when you're a healthy, happy person, you can just be a friend to someone. You don't have to give them advice. Like you're enough. You know, you are enough to just hang out with people and not have to like fix their life in order to feel like you are good enough or like contributing something. And sometimes it actually, people don't want that. I don't want that. Anyway, enough on that. I think someone else booked. Sharon. Yes. Okay, Sharon, I think I have you in here already. I remember your name. And let me take the this down. Sharon, if you want to say hi, you can in the chat so I know who you are. And if anyone else wants to book, you guys, there is time to get in. Whoever books next will be after Sharon. And yeah, I'm just double checking that I have the right birth info here. Yes. Yay. Okay, so we're gonna get you next, Sharon. And I hope I'm saying your name okay. I will mess your name up. That's a fact. We're just gonna accept that and move on with it. Whoops, but here we go. Here we go with this chart. So I'm going to set the timer. I'm going to get the transits up and we're going to talk about what the nodes are doing. Okay, so we have that north node entering, let's get to it, entering your fourth house. So the north node has been in your fifth house and you have had a nodal opposition. So we're going to start there because that's like happening now still. So what I want you to do is think about in the past year and a half, how have you wanted to go toward being more creative, being more focused on your own self-expression, when maybe normally you're more focusing on what the group wants from you. Maybe normally you're more focusing on what your relationship wants from you. You have North Node Mars in Libra. Usually that is a very relationship focused point in the chart, and that north node Mars will make that Mars be so much more prominent, so much more strong. But Mars rules your fifth house of creativity. So this is like dancing or like doing some other performative art or doing something creative in a group. If you want to share if any of those things are true about you. Oh, hello, you're here. Perfect. You're more than welcome to, but you don't have to. But it's like it's almost like the desire to please a crowd is what I would say in general with this. But it's also your 12th house ruler in the 11th. So this could be more of a spiritual group leader kind of energy as well. But Saturn's here really like this axis of Mars Saturn has been getting aspected by the North Node for the past, I want to say week or 2 weeks. So if some big, huge lesson or situation in life has been happening that makes you feel like you want to go, but you can't because you have to stop, or like you're trying to launch something and you can't get the paperwork going, or trying to initiate any dream or goal, but there's a feeling of like, well, wait, I need to get the structure going, or the desire is there, but the ability to act now isn't, and it might be causing frustration. Just know that's kind of in the cards for the moment. And I wouldn't say the energy is just going to disappear in a couple of weeks, but I feel like the most tense part of that is going to begin to fade, and you'll be able to kind of there'll be an energy shift when the nodes move on the 11th. This will be a bigger energy shift for you because they were really on top of a really important opposition in your life. That's going to be, we're going to just call this in general, self and others. And I know that's very general, but it's like your self-interest, your self-goals, I need to get here right now and go to the top of the mountain really, really fast, versus the goals of other people that might not be quite so, instant, like that Aries energy. So now let's talk about what the North Node is going to do for you when it goes into Pisces. Now that's your fourth house, putting focus here on your own emotional well-being, your feelings, how you feel in your own skin, your home. So if buying a home or owning a home or just moving and getting your home where you want it to be is something that's been kind of on the horizon, I would think during the next year and a half there will be focus on that. Sometimes there'll be focus on family of origin, but not always. The North Node and the fourth can be a time you're unpacking family dynamics that started in childhood that are not necessarily has nothing to do with your family right now. It's just about you and how you feel in your emotional baseline. Now, the South Node going through your 10th house, it doesn't, okay, South Node does mean a release, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to stop working. Now, it's possible. It is possible. You could be like, yep, I'm having a kid. I'm going to stop working. I'm going to be, stay at home, da da da, or something else like that. That is a possibility. But the greater implication here is that South Node in the 10th can be you not wanting to do the trappings of fame. And I'll give you, let me see. Yeah. Like if you have had to step on someone to get to the top, this would be the time where you're like, no, I'm not doing that. Where you have these opportunities that require doing things for success that are not spiritual, right? Because the South Node wants to spiritualize the 10th house, but the 10th house is about success. And sometimes to be successful, we're not being authentic. I would say this year and a half is probably going to be a time where you're focusing on what is really authentic for you, what is true for you, what is the real deal for you. And let me think what else here, because I want to give you a little bit more than just that. I'm just checking some things. Yeah, okay. Well, it also could possibly affect how you make money. Why? Because the North Node is in Jupiter's sign, and in your chart, this Jupiter, the fourth house ruler, is in the second house, conjunct Neptune and the Sun. So it's like making money is tied up with how you feel in your own skin. And I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. I would say that you probably are not, like if you had a time where you made a lot less money, that would probably affect your self-esteem. You'd take a self-esteem hit on that. A lot of people do, but with Moon in this, or sorry, with the fourth ruler in the second, it's like your own emotional foundation and your feelings are going to have an impact on whether you make money or not. So what I'm saying is you got to feel good to make money. I don't mean you can't do things you don't like. I don't mean you can't work hard. I don't mean you can't make sacrifices. I mean, the better you feel, the more you can make money. The better you feel, the more you can show up to your financial life with just clear and ready to grow, ready to go, ready to grow. Growth is a theme too with Jupiter in the second. So let me see what else I can think of for you in terms of this transit, because again, we don't have planets in the fourth and we don't have planets in the 10th. So there's not going to be a big, huge moment where the South Node's hitting a planet or the North Node's hitting a planet. But I do feel like we can just see the last really big one that happened, which was only a few weeks ago. On Christmas, the South Node hit Mars in the 11th. What could this be? Well, this could be like, let's say you're a dancer and Christmas Day, there's no dancing, right? Because it's closed or something. This could also be, I'm trying to think of things that would be, South Node hitting Mars. You can't be bothered to do anything when the South Node hits Mars because Mars is your willpower, your ability to say no. Mars is also fights, though. So if you normally fight with somebody, maybe during Christmas you didn't fight with them, that's only going to make sense if you're already kind of fighting with someone. Maybe this was just, these couple days were like a time where what you're normally working on, what you're normally working really, really hard on is just you're putting it down for a minute. You're putting it down for a couple days, and that release of it is like prominent. Now, the South Node hitting Mars is also like, I don't want to fight. But because you have the North Node conjunct Mars, you normally even though it's in Libra, there's a desire to at least kind of rock the boat a little bit sometimes, at least give the devil's advocate, not fight like I want to punch you in the face, but like weigh out the pros and cons, have a little bit of conflict sometimes. With the South Node with Mars, it's like I don't want to fight. It's unspiritual. I don't want to be the one who's competing. So if you normally have a more competitive nature, it could have been just around Christmas, the day before, day after, even the last couple weeks of December, not wanting to be in the ring and compete. So I'm going to stop there just because of time. But the good news is you don't have the nodes aren't really going to mess a whole lot up. The only thing is sometimes if you're in a more competitive field during this 18-month time, you could take a step back from that. The aspects of fame or success that feel like they're taking you away from who you are, if those are present in your life, if those are not present in your life, it may not be that. It may be you bringing more spiritual energy to your career and to success and to your job. And like dancing the dance of the universe, so to speak, whatever that metaphor might be for you. Okay. I'm going to stop there. I hope that was helpful. Sharon, feel free to let me know if it was. And I hope to see you again sometime. So we are going to go now to see if someone else booked. And I think somebody did. Yeah. So Elisa, you are next. So Elisa, do you want to chat in the comments? You don't have to, but if you do, I will see you there and I'll say hi and I'll know who I'm talking to. And I am going to add your chart here. If anyone else wants to join today, we do still have openings. I'm going to be on as long as you guys are here. As long as someone is booking today, I will be here. And we're just going to let that be however long it is, as it is the holiday. For anyone else too who wants more on the nodes, I have a course that is $37 and it goes up at midnight. So feel free to get that as well. There's a link in the chat and there is a link in the description. So I'm just entering this in here. Okay. Emily said, okay, the frayed scream. Perfect. Thank you for saying hi. It's always nice when I can put the chart with the YouTube handle. Although you guys forgive me, I can't memorize all your YouTube handles. So don't get mad if you book on here a few times and I still have not put your chart with your name. It's too much. Okay, so we're gonna get into it here. I'm going to pull up the transits. And, ooh, okay, exciting. This is exciting because you have a nodal opposition. Okay, so the nodal opposition happens, yeah, right away, mid-January. Here we go. We start the year off with this nodal opposition. Do not expect this to be a wham, bam, life-changing, everything's different in a second kind of a thing. Sometimes to parse these out, you really got to get into the subtle energy. So for you, we're going to start with the last time the nodes were here. And I'm going to give you the date on that and some things to consider to see if we can kind of get into what this might be for you. Because sometimes it's the same thing. Sometimes it's a different thing altogether. Like one year I was teaching English to kids when I normally don't, and it was so exactly opposite of what I normally do. So sometimes when the nodes are in opposite, so we're looking at like July of 2006, June, July of 2006. What was happening with relationships and your life direction at that time? Now, you might think that the nodes in the first and seventh, it's like usually people with the nodes in the first and seventh have bigger extremes in relationships. There's more of a this is about me, this is about you, and that being more of a seesaw. There's usually an imbalance. Now, with the North Node in the first, you might find that it's not that cut and dry that you're like, oh, I only focus on myself or, oh, I only focus on others. But it's like relationships can pull you away from what you want to be doing. What you want to be doing can pull you away from relationships. And with this South Node in the seventh, sometimes this makes your relationships like the South Node, which means they can be draining, but they can also be with spiritual people, especially the South Node on the descendant can be that you meet the most spiritual people, the most like, I have no self kind of people, you know? And it could be a really beautiful thing here. And then with the North Node on your ascendant, this is a strong natal placement you've got. Um, you're going to be more like the North Node, which means you're going to be more, even though that Virgo rising is all subtle and humble and everything, you want all the material things in life. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it makes you more like the North Node, which means you're going to keep getting up. You're going to keep going after it, especially with Mars on the ascendant as well. Like you will keep going after what you want. Okay. So going back to what I was going to even say here, think about what was happening in 2006, where maybe that flipped, where normally you're going after what you want. And maybe it's something related to Virgo. Maybe it's going after having the right diet. Maybe it's purging and cleansing and wanting to do like a fasting or something. Maybe it's something else. But normally it's like it flips when the nodes are opposite like this. Wait, whatever your normal situation is, it flips. And so let's parse this out a little bit more because for you, Mars rules the third house and the eighth house. So, let me think. Well, you could like drive cars, and that's a big deal to you. Third house in the first, sibling relationships are important, but if it's ruled by Mars, maybe there are challenges that are important. And what else? Yeah, sometimes Mars in the first like this will just make you very like not messing around, to the point, like focused, sharp, those kind of things. So what will the nodes do here in a couple of weeks? Well, maybe it's another flip where it's like normally you're going after something, but you're letting someone else do it. Maybe when the North Node goes into the seventh in your life in general, you're taking the back seat a little bit more where normally you're driving the car, metaphorically. Let me know if that feels like it might resonate, especially with things happening in the next couple of weeks. And then I want to touch on what will happen when the South Node hits your ascendant. That's also happening really soon. And then when the South Node hits Mars. So when the South Node hits your ascendant, you will probably just want to be more spiritual during this time, because that South Node qualities are like being like a monk, meditating. I'm not saying you're going to get rid of all your material possessions and leave and go to another country, but it has that vibe. It has that vibe for a couple of weeks. And this is going to be in February 2025 of like, I just wish I could stop all this North Node stuff I normally do, which is what? Well, it's materialistic stuff working. If you work a lot, maybe you'll take a vacation around February. If you work a lot, maybe you will work less. If you train or are athletic or something, Maybe you're not able to train during this time. Maybe you, and I wouldn't predict an injury or something, but usually you have to kind of let go of something related to that thing. And in this case, it's the body, right? The ascendant rules the body and how you approach life. So I don't think anything horrible will happen. I have this one coming up to myself, but it's a time where you might just feel like you don't want to do the regular mundane things of the world. You don't want to go to the grocery store. You don't want to cook food. You don't want to, and it really could be something as specific as and detailed as in February you're like, I'm going on a week-long fast, or I'm going to stop eating these certain things that I know are not good for me. The south node, one of the significations is excretion, okay? So like when it hits the point that is you, I'm sorry, but like sometimes you just are excreting something, okay? You're purging something. You don't have to get sick for this to happen. And it could be anything you deem that you don't want. You could be like, I want to lose weight. I'm purging. Or you could be like, um, I don't know, you could eat something that like makes you not want to eat for a few days. It could be something that regular, okay, that every day. But it could also be something bigger that's like, well, actually, I want to purge all these different ways of being. I can now I can see all these different ways that I've been more materialistic than I want to be, or that I've had to kind of chase money, or that I've had to kind of focus so much of my life on surviving, the physical body in the first house. I don't want to do that anymore. So it could be purging these ways of being that you are tired of being now. Another thing that can happen at this time is relationship stuff can come up majorly because, the North Node, let's talk about what the North Node does hitting the descendant and the South Node. Well, the North Node hitting the South Node, again, this is just like a flip from whatever is normal in relationships. And then with the North Node hitting the descendant with Neptune, it really is possible you could find that either you meet someone at this time or somebody slips away at this time, and that somebody doesn't have to be a significant other. That somebody can be a close friend that you've had for a long time that you realize sometimes Neptune will dissolve a thing of the descendant, or it will make it slip away or elusive or unclear. So you might have some confusion in relationships right now, and that's from Neptune anyway, but the North Node's going to expand the confusion. If there is someone or a bunch of people in your life that you don't know if you should trust, I would think that is a possibility. If there's a bunch of spiritual people who are like, come with us to this, of course I'm kind of making stuff up, so take what resonates, apply it to what makes sense to you. Come with us to this mountaintop and drink this Kool-Aid. Don't drink the fucking Kool-Aid right now. Like, do not drink the Kool-Aid. Do not join a cult on accident. Do not do anything like that, because while Neptune is here and this North Node is expanding it, this is just early February of this year, you are more likely to be deceived by others. Now, it might not show up that way. It could just be you meet someone and they have so much makeup on that later you realize, oh, that's not what they actually look like. Or you saw them in a certain light when you were high. And then then this reading is not going where I thought it was going to go, but this is what is coming out. So but like you meet someone when you're high and then you meet them when you're sober, you're like, ew. Right? So like it could be that. Now, let's say, I don't know if you're in a relationship or not, Elisa, but if you are, then this may not be, it doesn't have to be that horrible, right? This could be, if you're in a happy relationship right now, this could be a beautiful, magical moment of like ecstasy and ease and like beauty and like a nice date with the scene and everything. In general, I would say having Pisces on the descendant, I also have this one as well, will make you more open to people initially. And then later, sometimes you have to go back and be like, oh shit, that's not the person I wanted. Or have some kind of awareness of what be the discernment comes afterwards, usually not in the beginning. So that's another thing that can happen just with that descendant. And Neptune here, really, a lot of the Neptune stuff is just going to expand that more. If you have felt like you had friends and you don't anymore, and people have slipped away from you, this is just a timing thing from this transit. And but it can also be good. So it depends on the person, right? One person might feel like during this transit, friends and people are no longer part of their lives, or you could have an increase of Neptunian people. You can meet a bunch of people who love smoking weed. You could have Neptunian friends who are so spiritual, they don't have any boundaries, or so out there and like space cadet, but it might be wonderful, right? So it could be the positive or the challenging or both. But I do feel like I would not sign a contract on this day. I would not make an agreement with someone on this day. I would wait, and I'll tell you. I would actually wait. I would wait until April 5th for clarity on relationship stuff happening at this time. Now, if you already planned something, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about especially like meeting new people and stuff. You could meet like fated relationships at this time as well. And that doesn't mean that they're good for you, right? Like fated relationships aren't always good for us. Sometimes they're challenging karmic things. So I'm not trying to make any promises here. But okay, I have one more thing to tell you about. And this one is going to be when the South Node hits Mars. And this will be a little bit further into the year. So I'm going to flip to when that happens. It might be much further in the year. Yeah, so around September is when we have the South Node hitting Mars. So that's going to be the South Node hitting a planet. Really, what it does is it kind of makes that planet's visibility, like that planet goes away. Okay, so like if the South Node hits your Sun, your confidence might tank for a couple weeks. If the South Node hits your Mars, your drive, stamina, perfectionism in Virgo, your desire to have a plan and carry it out, all could tank for a couple weeks. It doesn't have to be the most horrible thing. It's like this is another one that could also be like just like when Neptune was mid Pisces, we were like, I just can't be bothered to get up off the couch right now. And with Mars in the first, that's not your nature. So this could also be another really significant relationship moment though for you, Elisa, where, and let me know if there's anything in this that makes total sense with what's happening in your life right now. I'd love to hear about it. But that South Node hitting Mars and Saturn hitting the South Node at the same time, that's like a big deal. Okay, so that's a big deal that because of the South Node or Saturn hitting the South Node, it could have to do with some kind of an agreement, some kind of burden. Someone in a relationship gives you a burden or brings to you some responsibilities you have to take care of. You might have to do your end of a bargain and it's just like a lot of work or something. It may not be like, again, it might not be super negative, but just Saturn on the descendant is like relationships require you to step up to some kind of responsibility. Sometimes it's the responsibility you want. Sometimes it's having a kid, although I wouldn't predict that with this particular combination. But it could be like you have a kid and now you are like stepping up to take care of them, right? I have seen that happen with Saturn going through the seventh, where people get married or people have babies because it's like that shared responsibility. And then what is the South Node doing to Mars? Well, for you, Mars rules your third house. So maybe you could sell a car at this time. If you have a brother or sister, they may not be as present in your life at this time. And I can't really tell how big of a deal that might be. So I would say if you have a sibling, it really could be their absence is what this is showing. And let me see what else. And sometimes the absence is like they live with you and now they're on vacation for 2 weeks. Um, and then other things that could happen when the South Node hits Mars. I talked about your drive and your stamina and your ambition going away. If you have debt, it could be a debt forgiveness thing. If you have student loans or if you have any kind of debt or owe anything to anyone else, this could be coming up. Okay, so that would be of everything I've said, this feels the most likely. So if you do owe someone money, this might be when they want you to start paying it back, or they expect it back, or and that could be a person, or it could be a institution that you owe money to. If you don't owe money, that's not that. Okay. Um, if you don't owe money, this could be like, I want to say, I'm thinking of other ways the eighth house could cause that disappearance here. That would be like, let's say normally you're psychic. During these 2 weeks, you can't connect. Okay, that's something to know because like whatever your eighth house thing is, that's the thing the South Node could release. So think about which one of these things relates to you. One, other people's money. Do you do accounting or anything like that for your job? If yes, it's probably your job. You're probably not working the week of the 15th, or something is stopping you from being able to do that. If you do any kind of psychic work, tarot readings, anything focused on the other side, that can be the thing that is not present for that time. Again, like you can't connect, or you're so overwhelmed, Neptune in the eighth, and flooded with it that it's like hard to make sense of it and you just need a break from it, or you're purging your normal way of accessing the psychic realm. If that doesn't ring true and you're like, I don't do any of that stuff, then it's not that. It's just the things of the eighth house that already relate to you. And the last part of the eighth house that everyone has is like our shared connection and our shared intimacy with other human beings. So having that planet have the South Node here, maybe the people who are normally close to you are far away at this time and you can't reach them, or something along those lines. Okay, so after that, it's kind of smooth sailing as far as the nodes go for a while. So you have those two kind of major significant times, the one coming up from January to February, and then again in September. And then, I do see some other things. If you ever wanted to book a reading with just like Uranus going into the 10th, that'll hit your moon eventually. And that's the big thing that jumped out the most. But yeah, I'm going to stop there because of time. And I hope you enjoyed. And feel free to let me know if you did. Okay, let's see what you're saying. I'm a personal research assistant. Someone is recently going to actually borrow a good amount of money from me. Yes. Okay. Ding, ding, ding. We got it. So since that's the case, maybe September is when they start paying it back. Or maybe they don't pay it back. Like, I hope that's not the case. But that would kind of be, I would say, be really careful about this. If you, okay, I'm going to give you some advice on this because I see the potential when Neptune is on the descendant. Remember what I said? You can be deceived. Okay. You can be deceived. You can be confused about it. So I don't think you're confused, but contracts and agreements don't go more easily when Neptune is in the seventh because it's easier for both parties to get mixed up. So if you want them to pay you back and you just are going to trust them, I would say watch out for that because that will bite you in the ass when Neptune is here. I don't want to make any negative predictions for you, but I would say that Neptune here will make it less clear, easier to kind of just think it'll be okay. And then it's not that great. So, this is not financial advice. It is just any kind of agreements, right? Like even if someone's like starting a new job with Neptune on the 7th, you need to make them say it. If you want this person to pay you back in September and that's the first payment, you got to make them say it. Or if you're getting a job and you just think they have insurance, you got to ask them if they have insurance because they just won't say anything. And then a year later, it's like, oh no, there was never going to be insurance. So something like that. I'm going to stop now because I could just keep talking forever and the timer went off a while ago. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you for sharing. That was really fun. And then, okay, I'm seeing what else you're saying here. The 2006 callback is so helpful. It all actually does resonate with what you said about religion, spirituality. Yay. Okay, cool, cool. I'm glad it was helpful. It was lovely reading for you. Thank you so much for booking. And thank you to everyone else who has booked so far. Anyone else who wants to book, we do have readings open. I'm just going to go use the restroom really quick. Anyone else who wants to book, you should book now. And then when I come back, you'll be next, or you'll be one of the next people. And I actually had set it for 4 p.m. So if you want to book, you need to book in the next 3 minutes and we can read your chart today. And then if a bunch of people do it, then I'll extend it. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the camera for a second and I will be back. Don't go anywhere. Okay, I'm almost back. Okay, you guys are still here and everything. Okay. There we are. Hello, hello. Welcome back. And I think let's see. I think I'm just going to chat with you guys for a second. If anyone else wants to book and you didn't get to, then let me know in the chat and I will open it up longer. But I think we did get everyone who wanted to. And I feel like we should do this again maybe tomorrow. I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure what we're going to do this month for the content and everything. Because I wanted to do yearlies and I did not get them out in time. So I'm debating whether to just do them anyway throughout the month and just do the yearlies throughout January and you guys still get them. But I don't know if some people will not even watch them because of that. Although it's like it would be the same video. It's just timing. Let me see here. Yeah. So, okay. So, the last thing to know is that I do have a course on the nodes. That course is going to the price goes up at midnight tonight. And I'll show you guys that course and that'll be the end for today. The last thing we do for today, and there we go. Let me get that so I can show you. It is a course on the nodes. It is going to have some things you probably already know about your north and south node if you have watched my videos, but it will be a little bit different. And I'm going to show you guys. Okay, so it is an introductory deep dive to the north and south node. So this is just the course description. This part tells you the difference, a little bit about the different methods of reading the nodes, how modern and traditional read the nodes differently, and kind of my take on that. It's a little rambly. It's a little bit of me just sharing my opinion about it. North node through the signs is what you would expect. It's the concise version of the north node through the signs. North node through the houses is also kind of what you would expect. I wouldn't say it's concise. It is just my take on the north node through the houses. So here's where it gets interesting. This is the part you're not going to see anywhere else. It's only going to be in this course. And that is the interpreting the north node in a sign in a house. So I talk about how to combine the meaning without doing that stupid modern shit people do where they say, you know, because what will happen is people will like confuse it where they say Aries is the first house, Libra is the seventh house. And so if someone has their north node in Aries in the seventh house, they're like, what do I do? It's the opposite. And so I do a video, I talk 17 minutes about how to understand this, how to understand that the sign and the house are different and what you need to know to apply that to the north node as far as kind of how to put it together as if it were a sentence you're trying to write. And then I have a bonus little cheat sheet here, which is the north node in opposite signs and houses. So the nodes in opposite signs and houses, it's a very short little worksheet that tells you my interpretation of like the north node in Aries in the 7th, the north node in Taurus in the 8th, the north node in Gemini in the 9th. And I go through and do based on the modern idea that the first house is Aries, the second house is Taurus, the third house is Gemini, even though I don't read that way. I know that this is a point of confusion, and so I just do it. I do the sentence telling you what each one of those means. Okay, so that is the course you can get. So it's going to tell you about your nodes and then take it a step further. And that is going to go up to $47 tonight at midnight. So if you want to get it for $37, you can do that now. And you just hit buy now, and that's how you get it. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to answer your question, Sarah. Sarah says, help. Or is Virgo rising is going to be okay? We're going to be okay. I'm with you. Whatever you're going through as a Virgo rising, I'm right here with you on it. So we will be just fine. But today what we were doing was actually personal, like looking at it personally and letting people book a reading to check it out personally. Like what do the nodes mean for you? But if you're trying to figure out if Virgo risings are going to be okay, I have a video. I did a video on the nodes. Maybe I'll just show you it. I'll show you guys how to get to that video. So like, let's say you're here, you're on YouTube, you're going to find the channel. And then you just go to live. I think did I do it live? This one. The nodes enter Pisces and Virgo. This is the one that's going to answer that question. And we'll be just fine. The south node going through the first house isn't really, in my opinion, it doesn't wreck you. It does not wreck you. It might make you more spiritual. Okay. It might make you want to not do things of this world as much, right? It might want you to make you want to focus less on yourself and more on others, especially if that's a point of imbalance recently. And it's going to stop fucking up your money, right? Because South Node in the second isn't good for money. So For Virgo risings, when it gets out of there, that's gonna probably, it won't help you make money, but it will stop being an influence. Sarah says 12th house perfection year as well. Do I need a helmet? Yeah, yeah. You might need a helmet on that one. Although I would say that sometimes just being the 12th house isn't always the worst. You kind of have to go back and see. If you know what a perfection year is, you probably know how to go back and see what happened the last 12th house perfection year and so on. And that's really helpful because sometimes you'll find, sometimes you'll find that like, I'll tell you what I've found so far. I have Mercury conjunct Saturn in my chart in a night chart. So Saturn's like the worst planet. Those years are the worst years. Mercury years are the worst years. So Virgo and Gemini years are the fucking worst because that Saturn is worse than the 12th house. So it kind of depends on your chart. Don't just think sometimes we lose people in the 12th house. We do. But it's not always that bad. It just kind of depends. So and sometimes just looking to the last one will help you know what it is. And that sometimes helps. I was just talking about this earlier, Sarah, how, and I said this earlier, but I'm going to say it again because I think there's enough different people on. I thought Saturn Moon last spring was going to fuck me up bad. I thought it was going to ruin me. I thought something horrible would happen to a woman in my life. I thought I would lose someone. And what happened? Okay, the signification of Saturn moon, right? Saturn conjunct the moon is like lack of support. Okay, maybe being far from family, being isolated, etc., etc. So what actually happened at that time was I was working a temp job and it turned into a real job, but the other person got let go. And so my position became much, much more isolated to the point where I didn't end up continuing working there, partly because of that. And also, my manager was on vacation. So I was just on my own at work and working really hard. And that was it. If I had just known that Saturn transit was that's all it was, I would have been jumping for joy ahead of time. Right. So it's like I try not to worry too much about transits anymore because so far the shit that's actually happened in my life has been so much worse than the shit I think that's going to happen for these little transits in the future. I don't know how to explain it. It's like sometimes you've been through so much worse that that transit's just like, it's not really that bad to you because you can handle it. You know, you have the capacity to handle it. So I'm rambling. Go buy my course or book a reading or do something or come back another day and do another live. It supports the channel. It helps me out. It's fun. You get to learn about your astrology. And I will see you, beautiful souls. I hope you have a happy new year the rest of today and enter 2025 with some clarity and calm and something good to look forward to and a sense of hope, a hope and optimism that even if life is challenging right now, that you can at least find some tools to work with it. And if life is just fine, then I'm hoping that your new year is filled with possibility. So, yeah, okay. So thank you all for coming. Thank you everyone who booked today. And I will see you, beautiful souls, in the next video. Bye, guys.